Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Stock Exchange of Thailand, Patra Security Public Company, and Bank of America for inviting me here today to this 2014 Thailand Focus Conference. May I also extend a very warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, participants to this important forum. To our foreign guests, I hope you will enjoy the hospitality of the Thai people and have a very pleasant stay in our country. Let me begin by saying that you are seeing for yourself that Thailand is back to normal and we are now looking forward to an economic recovery in which GDP is expected to grow at a rate of 3 to 3.5% for the rest of this year and the next. Of course, we hope to do even better and have laid out very clear plans and strategy to do so. Our goals are straightforward: to restore Thailand's traditional strengths and virtue, to undertake politically difficult reforms, and to establish a proper functioning democracy. Together, this would provide the foundation for stability, growth, and prosperity in the long run. On political reform, those who know Thailand and understand the situation would tell you that the political crisis, which began late last year, required decisive action. There were widespread protests, and the government at that time was not able to take charge of the situation. Things became worse with disruption, violence, and loss of life. As such, we were compelled to take the action that we did to restore law and order on the 22nd May. Clearly, the democratic system as it was then will break down and need to be fixed. We have taken steps as promised to avoid the confrontation and to set up a process of political reform that we hope would lay the foundations for a democracy that can function properly to serve the diverse interests of our groups in Thailand. We have made it clear that we will return Thailand to a properly functioning democracy in 3 phases. In the first phase, we have made peaceful time. We were now in the second phase, under which an interim constitution has established a framework in which 4 bodies are working together to govern the country and initiate reforms. General Prayut Chan-o-cha was formally appointed Prime Minister of Thailand on 25th of August, and he is reformed his cabinet in September this year. On the legislative side, a National Legislative Assembly has been formed and will expedite passage of hundreds of pending bills, with the 2015 budget bill as a top priority. Political and economic reforms in 11 areas will be undertaken by the soon-to-be established National Reform Council, or NRC. In this regard, there will be representatives from all provinces and sectors in line with our commitment that Thailand reforms will be broad-based and inclusive. We also encourage politically difficult reforms such as tax reform in order to reduce the gaps between rich and poor. The most important task of the NRC, or NLA, National Legislative Assembly, together are, of course, to bring about a new and better constitution to be undertaken by the Constitution Drafting Committee. Under the timeline established by the interim constitution, a new permanent constitution should be near completion by this time. next year. Our hope is for erection to be carried out by the end of 2015 or early of 2016. Other areas targeted for reform include government administration, education, and energy. Finally, the National Council for Peace and Order will also remain in place to oversee national security and political stability. The NCPO will also advise the government on certain issues where necessary. What is our ultimate objective? We aim to put in place a democracy that reflects the views of well-informed population, such that the elected government will be accountable to the people in a way that promotes unity and harmony, and not division. As in the past, the view of the people need to also be translated into public policy that is good for the long run, instead of producing short-term gain that risks long-term pain. Finally, democracy must endeavor to serve and protect Thailand's key institutions, which have been the foundation of stability for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, turning to the economy, we are gratified that our intervention in May is already having beneficial effects, as confidence has been restored and the economy is recovering well. But much more needs to be done to put Thailand back on the path of the stable long-term growth. In this respect, we are focusing on efforts on 4 fronts, namely transportation, information and communication technology, energy, and investment. As mentioned on previous occasions, the infrastructure investment master plan that has been endorsed by the NCPO will amount more than 3 trillion baht over the next 5 years. On transportation, I would like to simply highlight that we have detailed plans and strategies to cover all 4 modes of transportation, namely road, rail, water, and air. The idea is not only to improve transportation within the country, but to establish strategic linkage with neighboring countries and southern China to facilitate the expansion trade, investment, and tourism in this important Greater Mekong sub-region. On railways in particular, we will improve and upgrade the existing meter gauge rail system to enhance convenience, safety, and efficiency. At the same time, we will begin the construction of a modern standard gauge 1.435 meter gauge rail system that links Thailand within southern China with neighboring countries to the east and west. The new rail system will also link up with the eastern seaboard to facilitate transportation to and from southern China. We will also build seaports in the south on both the Andaman Sea side and the Gulf of Thailand. This port will be linked by a land bridge, and in turn, they will be linked by a road and rail network with the rest of the country. As we put this infrastructure in place, we will also promote the development of special economic zones, communities, and towns at key border areas with our neighboring countries. Expanding the capacity of our airports is also a priority, apart from raising the capacity of existing major airports at Don Mueang and Suvarnabhumi by over 50%. We will also develop Utapao Airport into an international airport and upgrade other international airports in key provinces to cope with the growing number of tourist arrivals expected in future years. On energy, we are determining to reduce our dependence of fossil fuels, a significant portion of which is import. We will invest to increase our use of alternative and renewable energy from the present 50% to 50% to be 25 to 30% of total use. We will also enhance our energy security by raising our energy reserve. And on ICT, we will build fiber optic networks to link up with Europe, the United States, and major Asian countries outside of ASEAN. This is to ensure that Thailand has the best telecommunications networks that enhance our competitiveness of our commerce, service, and industries. Finally, investments. We believe that our success in restoring political stability has already improved investor confidence in Thailand. We are also confident that private investment will be increased after more than 3 billion baht worth of project had received investment promotion. Certificates from the Board of Investment since the NCPO began to administer the country. We also aim to attract more funds from the private sector to help finance the infrastructure project that I have outlined above. As such, we are drawing up plans for private sector participation and realize that attracting private money requires a stable political environment, predictable policies, timelines, transparency, rule of law, and above all, adequate return of invested capital. In the near future, we hope to set up infrastructure funds and various public and private joint venture mechanisms with input and cooperation from many of the participants who are here today. We know that corruption and red tape tops the list of private sector concerns. We have to deal with the government. We are serious about dealing with corruption. We are laying down a framework for implementation of projects that would maximize transparency and minimize corruption for both public investment and investment by the state enterprise. For us, the war against corruption must be fought and won if Thailand is to realize its full potential. Equally important is to minimize red tape that slows things down and can be a source of abuse. We are determined to improve laws, regulations, and procedures. Discretion of officials will be kept to a minimum and a reasonable time frame. Will be prescribed for obtaining official approval and permits. We are interested particularly in streamlining custom and other formalities. The aim is to ensure that Thailand conforms to the best international practice and standard. As you can see, our goal is to revitalize Thailand's strengths as a market-based, open economy that is investor-friendly. I think the people in this room will all agree with me that the greater transparency, improved bureaucratic efficiency, and the elimination of corruption will go a long way towards making Thailand your investment destination of choice. We see our effort to fight corruption and red tape as an important means of re-energizing Thailand's economic efficiency and competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, let me say that We have had a good start and have produced good results so far. We intend to do our best to maintain the current momentum and to serve the interests of the Thai people in this regard. I would like to point out that the National Council for Peace and Order is guided by these key ideas and principles. First, we have announced a well-defined roadmap for restoring a proper function democracy for Thailand. We have been operating within the framework laid out in the roadmap. We will continue to do so and intend to keep our promise. Second, our reform agenda is open and inclusive. We will not interfere and have encouraged broad-based participation. The end result that we seek is reconciliation and reforms which best serve the public interest. Third, transparency is our guiding principle along with the fair treatment for all sides. Finally, and most importantly, the success or failure of the NCPO will be judged on. Now we are able to combat corruption. Our aim on economics reforms is for Thailand to become internationally competitive and conform with the best international practice and standards. Ladies and gentlemen, may I again warmly welcome all of you and thanks the Stock Exchange of Thailand, Bangkok of America, and Patra Securities Public Company for organizing the 2014 Thailand Focus Conference. I wish all of you every success at this conference and hope that your time here will be both enjoyable and productive. Thank you very much.